We have a great interview today. Her name is Tanna Marshall. And today is a difficult day for me. This Women Crush Wednesday sponsored by Gym Plus Coffee. Gym Plus Coffee, all about sustainability. A really, really cool company. Go check them out, Gym Plus Coffee. So, today we are interviewing Tanna Marshall. We're going to go through some stuff that's been difficult for me as of late. It's been a really tough few days. Needless to say, hi Tanna, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Well, it's been 5 days. And I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do this. So thank you.
I'm here for you.
You are a women's transformational empowerment coach. And we met through Jill Annenberg. And bless her heart, because again, another week has gone by where I thought maybe I wouldn't do another interview like this. I don't know if I have the ability or the capability. And then you and I got in a call, and I realized, wow, you're absolutely perfect for today's conversation.
Yeah.
You've experienced loss. You've lost both your parents. You were the caregiver. And you described how difficult being the caregiver can be in this way. Let's go back and talk a little bit about what you do, because you work exclusively with women, right?
Yes, I do. But first, just let me say I'm so honored to be here with you today, especially during this difficult time. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for having me on. And, I want to do whatever I can to support you and anyone else going through this. But yes, I work exclusively with women. I've just always had a very strong connection with women, with my girlfriends. It was a natural progression for my business and what I do. And this is such an important thing with women, because we usually are the ones who are the caregivers, who are taking care of everything. And especially if you've suffered a loss, if you've gotten to that point, there's so much to do, so much to take care of. So I'm really glad that you are taking care of yourself, because that's so important. A lot of times women don't.
Yeah. Well, and I think it just was a miracle that there was so much synchronicity with what you've experienced and what I'm going through right now. I've lost my dad 5 days ago. We lost him on Friday. I was with him. I was holding his hand. And nothing really quite prepares you for the pain. I feel in some ways I'm so disassociated from it still. And I was asking Dad, Dad, give me strength to be able to do this. But I know that he would want me to, and I think that is part of this growth, is realizing that they don't want you to suffer. You've suffered enough watching your parent, suffer in the ways that, some do when they're suffering with a terminal illness, like what my dad had. My dad had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He was diagnosed in April, and we thought he had beaten it by June. And then it recurred in the brain, and it was very quick after that. But when you and I had these conversations, you lost both parents, and you actually wrote a book about being a caregiver, because I have to be honest, Tanna, I have not taken good care of myself. I'm not making good decisions, right? I'm barely drinking enough water, and that ends up being what happens because you're so stressed. My anxiety was so through the roof, where I was afraid of getting a bad call. I had lost 2 brothers previously, and my mom had to call me with both of their passings because they were sudden. And I was not in a place where I could receive a third call about my dad. He was just my number one. He was such a light. So you discussed that. You have a book. You wrote a book about it.
I did.
About being a caregiver.
It's probably backwards, but it's The Enlightened Caregiver, and it's a holistic care guide for you and your loved one, because it's not all about the person you're taking care of. You need to take care of yourself, or you have nothing to give. And what you're going through right now, it's so important that you take care of yourself. And I'm glad that you're taking some time off to process this. And it takes a while, and there's no time frame. It really isn't. And you have been through, I know last week you talked about the PTSD of receiving those phone calls, and that's very, very real. And right now, just I don't want you to put any kind of pressure on yourself. You need to just allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and let it take as long as it's going to take. And whatever you feel like you need in the moment, ask for it or give it to yourself, because you could deplete yourself. I know after my mom died, I just kept myself really busy. I mean, there were a million things to take care of, and I had to take care of all of it by myself. And that was 3 years ago. And now a lot of it's hitting me. And I burst into tears all the time, and I just let myself. So I'm glad that you feel safe with me, and I'm glad that you have such a supportive audience where you feel like you can just come on here and be real and raw and share what you're going through, because that's going to help other people, because we all go through this at one or another.
Yeah. Jill, loves both of you girls. You're so special. I love you, Jill. I just saw her not that long ago. She came over and gave me a hug, and I was telling her that right now, the best thing that I have been receiving is time with friends, especially too, even people that have walked in these shoes, because I keep trying to outsmart it. I'm asking for, advice. Like, how do I, I'm feeling so sad and so low. Like, what can I do to make myself feel better? And everybody just keeps giving me the same answer, who like you, just time, unfortunately. And I'm walking this line, I feel like right now, Tanna, of distraction, wanting to enter into distraction, and then wanting to feel the feelings. Like, I cry in the shower every time. I'm like, I say to my mom, I'm staying with my mom, I'm like, okay, mom, I'll be back in 30 minutes. I'm gonna take a shower and a deep cry. And she's like, okay, it's almost kind of like we know this language that we're speaking, because we've been here before 2 other times, losing my other brothers. But this feels so different, because he was such, a generous love and light in my life. And when you lose that, you lose that voice that you're used to hearing. You lose the sound he would make when he would walk down the hallway, or how we would pour a cup of coffee, or we would drink wine together. He loved wine. And just the traditions within what was so important to him. Like, he loved to celebrate anything. I would win a game, and let's go celebrate, and so those things I'm so sad about, because you don't realize how lucky you are to have them, and they're so special, and then you realize you're lucky once they're gone, right? I mean, and it's so cliche to say, but that is the hardest part of this whole thing.
I think you did know how lucky you were. You obviously knew how lucky you were, and that's what makes it even harder sometimes. I actually don't know which is worse. You knew how good you had it, and the person's gone, or they're gone, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize at the time. We touched on this yesterday, that when someone's gone, and I really like to talk to people who suffered a loss, because I think this is really important, that they're still there. They're still hanging around. And now it's like learning a new language, because they're always trying to communicate with you. Not trying, they are communicating with you. Everyone that we've lost, they're there, they're on another plane. And if we learn to pay attention to signs, messages, because they're always there, then we receive them. And when you kind of start getting in touch with it, this song, that billboard, that overheard conversation, a scene in a movie that speaks to you. So you're just learning a new language with your father right now.
Yeah, that's such a great word to describe it, right? Language. It's like a new language. It's just like you're going through it. Like, time, it takes time. You're not going to go around it. You just kind of got to go right through it. I mean, that's what everybody's been telling me. And it's kind of like what you said when we spoke on the phone yesterday, like get silent, see the signs, right? And I've seen a couple. They've come to me, they've presented themselves to me. Yes, the other day, my mom, a couple days ago, I think my mom was making coffee, and the wine cork at 6 in the morning shot out of the wine. I mean, at 6 in the morning, like, what was that? Which was pretty remarkable. Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, married to a gentleman named Robert, same name as my dad. He died of a blood cancer the same years they were married. I mean, it was just very and she just turned the TV on and boop, popped that story. And you're like, what? Those things are so crazy. And I feel like the reason why I wanted to even do today was exactly like what you said. Everybody goes through this. And if there is a way to make someone feel less alone in this awful, awful, sad, hard journey, I mean, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. Christmas, I'm going to have to wake up and, he's not going to be there,
Yeah.
and he was my Santa Claus. I know that sounds so silly to say, but he was, he was my Santa. So how do you take care of you? I know you work with women, exclusively with women, because we are the caregivers in so many different facets of life. Where do you start when you meet with somebody? Because Jill has sang your praises and has absolutely loved your work, and I think we don't hear enough of this in terms of giving advice to women who try to take on all of it. Moms at home. That's the hardest job of all, right? But we constantly feel like we need to give and give. Where would you start with a client when she wants to improve her life?
Well, it's basically asking, what do you want? Do you even do you even know what you want? That's part of it. And a lot of times women don't even think about what they need because they're so focused on everybody else. And a lot of times the idea of self-care feels selfish. And women need to become more selfish, because if we are, that doesn't mean we're excluding everyone. That means we're putting ourselves first. And I like to say we're filling our own pitcher. You have to fill your own pitcher, or you have nothing to pour into everybody else's glass. So it's kind of in general, it's a moment by moment thing with people, because I really want to talk to you and your situation right now. Because the coaching thing, it's what do you want? We kind of go from there. It's goal oriented, that kind of thing. But right now with you, I just want to talk about what you're going through, and anyone who's going through a loss. It's a moment to moment thing. And if you feel like I need to go cry in the shower, go cry in the shower. And when I say there's no time frame on this, my dad died 18 years ago. I still cry for him sometimes. And my mom lost her father in 1956. She cried for him until the end of her, she had dementia. So there were times where she's like, where are my parents? So it never goes away. It lessens, but it does help when you realize they're still kind of hovering around. And I know this is so raw for you. And I know when I talk to my parents, they're like, why are you crying? And I'm like, it just feels good, so they're there, they're in a great place, they're happy, but they're watching over. They want you to be happy. And so you just need to ask yourself, what do I need? What do I need to feel supported right now? And you know what? People who haven't gone through a loss, or they're not used to crying or expressing their emotions, I think a good cry is really necessary often. So if you can watch a movie or some YouTube video that makes you cry, that moves you to tears, that release is really necessary. So with you, I just want you to cry as much as you need to cry. Whenever it comes up, let it out. That's going to be very healing for you.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you're saying, because you're sort of giving us permission to not judge ourselves through this process, because it is a mind F, okay? Because like when my dad was sick, he didn't really want a lot of people to know, right? For his own sanity, right? I think he didn't want people to think something was wrong. I think he just always wanted to be the joy and the light. And when we started to tell people about what this prognosis was like, they had told us it was a poor prognosis, and we kept hearing it over and over and over again. When it went to the brain, it's a poor prognosis, over and over again. And I never really wanted to believe it. So I'm playing this psychological game with my own brain. Because when people would reach out and ask me every day, how's your dad? How's your dad? How's your dad? I mean, it was really hard for me because I didn't want to say what was going on, because then it maybe made it real. Um, and when she came to visit me after my dad died, she said, your emails really never alluded to that it was going to be like this. I mean, and it was very quick. He was diagnosed. We found it October 7th, and then he, almost a month later, he's no longer with us. And she said, you never really made it seem like there was bad news. And I told her, I said, I honestly, those emails, I only wanted to write them when I had uplifting information. And it goes back to giving yourself permission, because when you go through this process, you are so like a little 5-year-old girl or 5-year-old boy, because you're just so scared. And I never really wanted to put in an email any of the bad news, because it was like draining for me. I couldn't write it down. I really couldn't. And then he went into a coma, and then I wrote maybe very few people. I said, maybe you should come. And that was really hard for me. But this whole process is so hard because you're dealing with so many people that are trying to show up for you and reach out to you and message you and give you hugs. And it's so hard because you're going through this personal grief where you need to show up for yourself, but you feel called upon showing up for your friends or showing up for your family because they want to be there for you. And it's really hard. It's a really hard emotional experience, because you don't have a playbook. I don't know how this is supposed to go. Like, am I being unruly? Because some people who are reaching out, I'm not sure I've even responded to all of them. I mean, I'm tired. I'm really tired. But they're so loving with their support. So, yeah.
Those people will understand if you don't get back to them. So
No.
cut yourself a break right now. You said there's no rule book. There is no rule book. There isn't. And you have to make up your own rules because everyone's different. Some people are going to be like, I need everyone around me. And some people are like, leave me alone. I need to process by myself. Or you can pick and choose because those people are there for you. And that's the important thing. If you need support from specific people or from a group, they're there and they're going to understand. So don't worry about not getting back to people right now. This is so fresh. So fresh. So you really, really need to just focus on you and your mom, but you first. And whatever feels right to you in the moment and whatever kind of support you need right now, that's all that matters.
I remember you were telling me when we were on a call about, you were really the primary caregiver with both parents. I think, just being completely vulnerable and honest with you and transparent, and I don't know if people have felt this at home, but do the emotions of guilt ever come up? And what I mean by that is every day I was trying to balance work and then being at the hospital, work and being at the hospital. And thank God, I can't thank my job enough for holding space for me with this process. They've been so incredibly supportive, like family. But with that being said, I would go to work and I then would miss a day with my dad. And then on a totally separate guilt-ridden emotion, I would feel like I wasn't doing enough. I felt like, I should have reached out to more doctors or I remember we needed to get him radiation And I called and I said to the the radiologist, I said, I don't think he's going to make the weekend. Can we squeeze him in sooner? And she said, I'm so sorry, we can't. And I'm like, maybe I should call her back and really just plead with her or just do something. And so I'm going through this emotional process where I feel really guilty, or I feel like I didn't do enough.
Well, I think that's pretty normal for most people, but I think you know that you did do enough. You did all you could. You mentioned Wonder Woman. You're not Wonder Woman. Only so much you can do, and you really have to cut yourself some slack. And I'm glad that you have that work situation. I had that with my father because he was in and out of the hospital and in a convalescent home for a month recuperating from stuff. And my boss and the president of my division, they let me take a 2-hour lunch every day to go from LA to Mission Hills just to spend a half hour with him, just so I could see him. So I did all I could. I probably could have done more, but I knew that I was doing all I could. You did all you could, and you really have to cut yourself a break there because you'll make yourself crazy. There's nothing you could have done, and you personally couldn't save him. And you know what? The soul has this knowing. You told me he passed on your parents' anniversary, correct? Right. So it's a meaningful day, and I'm sure there was some part of his soul that was like, this is a good day for me to make that transit. So just please take the pressure off of yourself. And it's interesting when you mentioned guilt. With my mom, I was home. I had gotten laid off from my job in 2008. Not long after that, she needed my care full time. So she was my whole life, 24/7. So I never felt like and I was devoted. I never felt like, oh, I didn't do enough because I did everything. I feel good about it. But the times I felt guilty was when I was doing things for myself or when I was really happy. And I thought, oh, I shouldn't be happy, or I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be having fun because I need to be focusing on my mom. So there are all kinds of guilt that can play into these situations. But I just want you to take the pressure off of yourself because you did everything you could. He was in good hands, and we can't ever do anything when it's somebody's time. That's a divinely scheduled thing that we have no control over.
I think it's funny because you mentioned guilt, your own relationship with guilt. Why? It feels like it's a feminine thing. Like, moms have guilt when they go out on the town and, spend a nice night out with friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not discrediting men. Obviously I'm a female, so I don't know, right? Like, there probably is, but maybe women talk more about it. But how do you have a better relationship with guilt? Because you're absolutely right. Like, when I laugh, I catch myself. Like, I'm laughing, Ooh, that feels weird to laugh, right? Like, I should be laughing with my dad, right? He's not here. So why have you discovered that? Like, and what is the way for us to sort of have better control over it when it comes up for each of us?
I don't know if we can ever have control over it. I think we can acknowledge it and look at, okay, where is this coming from? Why am I feeling this? And usually it's self-imposed guilt. And if anybody outside of you is making you feel too guilty, like you shouldn't be doing this or you should have done that, you have to be able to check in with yourself. And this just requires a really strong inner foundation of not just confidence, but just knowing yourself and knowing that you are doing everything you can. You are doing the best you can. And what I like to tell people is your best is going to be different at different times. So right now, your best is usually probably off the charts. Right now, because of what you're going through, your best is here. So you have to acknowledge that and kind of leave everybody else out of the situation because a lot of that guilt is, what will they think of me? And if you take everybody else out of the equation, there's really nothing to feel guilty about unless you really know you did something that wasn't right. But the kind you're talking about, it's, what does everybody else think of me?
And that is a thing I struggle with, right? People pleaser. I need to make sure, and that, by the way, I've done a lot of work in discovering what that is. It's still a form of control. I'm trying to control whether you like me or not, Tanna.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, oh, it's such a, oh, you suffer from people pleasing. What a terrible thing. You make other people happy. No, no, no. I'm afraid you may not like me. And so I need to overcompensate by trying to control, your narrative of me and not living my life for me. And I think that that is such a great awareness tool, is really understanding who you are, what it is you want, and then understanding that if that is a problem for someone else, that's not my particular issue at hand. That they can work on themselves. That's their own particular issue. I've kept you for far too long. I can't say thank you enough. Before I let you go, though, I wanted to ask you, why do you do this work? What is it about this work that drew you into it? Because I've worked with Jill, and she has been absolutely transformational with me, with my imposter syndrome, with just owning my own authenticity, and then being healthier in general and educating me and up leveling me with food and diet and nutrition and all of those things. She will ask me the hard questions that I can't thank that enough. For you, Tanna, what drew you to this path, your particular path you're on?
Well, and hey to Jill, thank you for her connecting us. Well, you know what? In general, it's kind of like what we've been talking about, that the world is kind of set up to support men. They kind of just automatically support. Women don't have that same support, and they walk through life with a level of confidence that women usually don't have. And I think women need as much support as they can get, and that's why I have a feminine community where women can come and receive that support and upliftment, and all the things that you talked about that Jill does. Jill's amazing at what she does. Just tools to take care of yourself, how to transform yourself in your life, how to become more confident. Women just need more of that. And I've always have a great relationship with women. And so it's just the right thing for me to do, because we all need that. We need each other.
And I think being accepted in our female peer group is what so many women actually want in life, is to be seen by other women, right? And I grew up with older brothers, so I really didn't understand how valuable my female coven, really how it does impact me. It makes me feel more supported and more confident. And so having that like sisterhood, and like you said, that work where other women see each other, because we do try to carry the load for so many other people. And I feel like COVID has impacted women the most, whether small business owners or their moms that have to now be like homeschool teachers. COVID was challenging for more women, I believe, than men. But I might be biased.
Well, you know what? Everybody needs support. Everybody needs support, no matter who. And I think a strong social network, not social media, a strong in-person, real connection with peers, with colleagues, just with people that you feel a connection with, that you feel is your tribe. I always tell people, find your tribe. That is so important for men and for women. And, sometimes there's a co-ed situation too. But there's something beautiful about feminine energy when women come together and they can relax and be in that feminine energy together. It's very powerful, and I think it's very necessary for.
Yeah, because it can be very judgmental. Women can be judgmental against other women based on the way they look. And it's an insecure thing. So I am so grateful for the work that you do, and thank you for like the call that we had.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, wait for a second. Now
can
I
you
can
hear me now?
Yeah.
How can people learn about what you do? Do you have a website? And we'll tag everything, but how can people get in touch with you?
My website is just my name, TannaMarshall.com, and the feminine community is infinitewoman.com, and everything is in my bio here on Instagram. It's Tanna Marshall 8W, which is Infinite Woman 8W. So all my information is there. So Erin, Thank you for having me. I can't thank you enough. I'm really honored to be here with you at this time. And, I'm here if I can do anything to help support you.
I just wanted to show you this. This was my dad and my mom on their wedding anniversary.
Look at that. How beautiful. Oh, and we're saying hi to your dad. He's here.
Tanna, thank you. I can't thank you enough. I really am so grateful for you. So thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thank you, Erin. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Please take care.
I will. Thanks, Tanna. Bye-bye.